All right, so I made a video a little while ago that I would be going into work and asking for a raise. I kind of talked about what my game plan was, why I felt like I deserved a raise, what I planned on like using as leverage, if you will, to go ahead and get that raise. And I went in and I asked for it. And I want to kind of share my experience with you guys and tell you what it was like and what the results were. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So basically, what happened was my boss's boss, so the director, had sent an email out to everyone saying, feel free to schedule an appointment with me before the holiday. It's mid November at this point. So feel free to schedule an appointment with me before the holiday to kind of just discuss whatever it is you want to discuss, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, anything you want to bring to light or talk about or complain about or whatever the case may be. Whatever you want to talk about, set an appointment up and we can talk. And I think it's important to add some context here. If you're new to my channel, I've been posting a lot of videos about my workplace. Things are going downhill. People are quitting. People are getting fired constantly. Someone literally got fired today, and it's been pretty bad, and it's been treading downwards. So I think what happened was they had sent out a survey about a week or so ago asking for input on certain things, mainly regarding operations of the department and how we go about things and what could be fixed. And then right after that was all submitted, everyone submitted their surveys. The director had sent this email out to offer to have basically one-on-ones with him. So I took advantage of it. I set up an appointment the next day, which is today, and we went in and we had a conversation. Now, I want you all to keep in mind as well that this was about an hour and a half ago at this point, maybe 2 hours ago. So I'm pretty fresh off of this sort of meeting. So I went in there with two things I wanted to discuss. I wanted to discuss number one, what I felt like was the biggest flaw with our operational processes right now. And not to get too deep into it, but basically, it involves the fact that in order to receive credit for your work and in order to appear productive in the eyes of the company, you have to do almost as much work as you actually do for the client. So, what I mean by that is, let's say I help a client out, I do some things for them. Then, in order for my company and my employer to know that I did those things for them, I then have to go in and do a bunch of different things and put notes in, track things, all that kind of stuff, right? So, what may have taken me 10 minutes may now take 20 minutes, or what may have taken 20 minutes could now take upwards of 40 minutes or even close to an hour. And let's say I get interrupted by something else, then I have to go back to that, and it becomes messy and it's unproductive, and there needs to be a cleaner way of doing it. And I expressed my frustrations with that. Once we finished discussing that, then I went in to discuss how I felt undervalued and underpaid. Now, with this being said, I think there's some important context for this as well. When I first came on board with the company, I was one position and then I was forced into another position. Basically, two departments were merged together. And with that merge, my pay did not change. However, my responsibilities did, the workload did. And if that's not enough, the people who were in the other department that we merged with, they had a higher starting salary versus myself and my department. So when we merged, you would think, you know, everyone everyone either gets bumped up to the same salary, or, those who had the higher salary get bumped down, which I definitely would not recommend. That's not how I would have done it if I were making those decisions. If it were me, I would bump everyone who was making less money up to the minimum that the other department was making. Well, no, that was not the case. They kept everyone's pay the same, even though everyone was doing the same work. So there were people who either were promoted to that position prior to the merge or were hired on to that position from the start. The other position I'm referring to, not mine. And again, they were making more money. So now I'm doing the same job, the same work. I have the same responsibilities, the same productivity metrics, yet I'm getting paid less. So I brought that up. And nothing was done about it other than him agreeing that I'm underpaid. And then what followed that were what I feel was empty promises or promises that may be kept but aren't enough in my opinion. And those promises involved my pay increasing at some point in the future. And even if that is true, I still feel that I'm being shorted now while I'm getting paid less than other individuals who are who are doing the same exact job as I am. So, with all that being said, he did say that my pay could increase in the near future. I was not satisfied with that, but I can't, you know, change the books. I can't change my payroll. I unfortunately don't have access to that. Um, and I told him I wasn't happy about that. But furthermore, I did take it a step further and I said, even if my pay did increase to what all those other people are making, I still don't feel like I'm being paid enough. I still don't feel like I am properly compensated for the work I provide. Because he even said it himself that I am of the top performers and the higher ups in the company recognize the work that I put in and the value that I bring. Yet I'm not compensated for it. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why. And it's really frustrating. I'm going to be honest. It's really frustrating that number one, I was forced into a new position without receiving any sort of increase in pay, even though my responsibilities increased, as well as the fact that other people are doing the same job who I believe, and he agreed that I'm more productive than, yet they're still making more than me. So, where did the conversation go from here? I basically got the good old runaround that says work really hard and you'll be rewarded in the future. And if I do this for an extended period of time, then when opportunities come up, I will be kept in mind for those opportunities. And while I appreciate that, and I do believe that, I think he genuinely meant that, although maybe after this interview, not so much. But I was completely respectful and honest, and I think he does appreciate, obviously, the respect, but the honesty. So I don't think I'm on the hot seat or anything like that now. And he did ask if this is my way of saying I'm leaving if I don't get a pay increase. And I said no, because I'm not currently looking. I haven't applied to any new jobs. I haven't really been researching any new jobs. But I'm not going to lie, after this meeting, I'm thinking about it. So at the beginning of the meeting, he had said he wanted both of us to walk out of the meeting feeling better about things. And to be honest, I feel worse. And I think, although I'm slightly heated at the moment, not going to lie, um, I think this solidifies the fact that I'm going to start looking for new jobs. And this is mid-November at this point. So ideally, with the holidays coming up and most people aren't hiring, so it's going to be difficult to get anything now. But ideally, I'm hoping by the end of January to be elsewhere, unless something were to magically change and my pay were to increase significantly. So I think that's the plan for me. Moral of the story, the summary of the story, I guess you could say, is I went in, asked for a raise, and I was denied it. And I was given the old work really hard and, we'll reward you. And I was promised, I don't want to say promised yet, hinted that in the new year I could get a bump in pay. However, that bump that he was referring to, in my opinion, isn't enough, as I mentioned before. And I did say that to him. So I don't necessarily know, what's next other than just going to continue doing my job and begin looking. But I'm not going to lie, I'm really frustrated with this, and I think that this company does not value its employees, especially the ones who work hard and go above and beyond. I'm not perfect by any means, and I don't even think I'm the best in my department, but there are things that I do really well, and I always give 110%. And if that's not valued and if it's not reciprocated and I'm not compensated for it, then I'll find somewhere that will do those things, that will value it and will compensate me properly for it. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. You could probably hear it in my voice. I'm a little frustrated, a little annoyed, but it is what it is. You don't win them all. But I just wanted to come on here and give you guys an update. I know I made that video about how I was going to be asking for a raise, so I wanted to go ahead and give you an update and let you know how it went. I'll say this, and then I'll leave it at that. I'm not surprised how it went, to be totally honest with you. Part of me expected this. Part of me knew this would be the outcome, but at least I tried, and you'll never get anywhere in life unless you try. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you checking in with me as always. If you are new here, I post all kinds of content just about my life. Recently, it's been a lot about my job and my position, my company, but I also talk about like personal finance and investments and all that kind of stuff. So if you like any of this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I just talk on here, throw it over some gameplay, and post it for you guys. Hopefully you can learn something or connect with it or relate to it. So listen, I appreciate you guys as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.